Welcome back to another episode of the XRP Pod. It's going to be a good one today. Joining me, of course, is Mr. James Rule. You guys see him out there on Twitter all the time. And of course, James, how are you, man? Welcome to the show.
Paul, I'm great, and it's such an honor to be here on your show. I mean, you've been focused here lately on XRP, Ripple, the XRP Army, and we just appreciate everything you do. And I'm just blown away that I'm here today. So, but it's an honor. I appreciate you.
You know, it's funny. We started producing content back in 2020, and XRP was one of, and in fact, we ended up having some of the Ripple team on in some of our early podcasts, and we continued down that track. Always very curious as to, because we look at all blockchain projects out there, not just Ripple, but obviously Ripple always rose to the top. Cream always rises to the top. So it's that kind of thing. And of course we said, hey, let's dedicate a podcast to it. This is the first time we've dedicated a podcast to a particular area of crypto. And it exploded when we first went out with it. We actually didn't think about if it would be big or not, was really just doing it to help the community and continue to drive education into the market. So I'm glad it's making finding a home. Hey, James, so let's get into a couple of news items and some of the things that are hitting, of course, this week. I'll share my screen with you guys so everybody's on top of this. But one of the biggest issues that we've seen so far, of course, is the question mark around whether or not Chair Powell is going to cut rates. Now, we saw the jobs numbers come out last week. Not good for American workers. That most likely is going to cause some pressure in the market. And one of the things it did, James, was it did this right here. It pushed gold to another all-time high, now hitting $3,600, especially as we're starting to see rate cut probability happening at breakneck speed. When you look at the amount of people that are speculating around the rate cuts, do you think XRP holders really care? Because this is more of a long-term mindset. Are they worried about the next 6 months, or do you think it's something that will maybe bring people into the space that haven't been there before?
Honestly, I feel that it's going to bring more people into it. There's going to be more cash in circulation. If the interest rates are cut, it's going to give people an opportunity to, diversify into different assets like
Yeah.
gold, precious metals, and cryptos. And here in the last several months, I've seen so many people just come into the world of crypto, just followers, subscribers on my channel. It's starting to blow up now, and we're getting what I call the kindergartners. And yeah, I think it's going to boost things for the entire market.
Yeah. We are going to get into today an area on crypto scams to watch for. So we'll treat you guys to that. James is one of the guys out there that I would say is an expert in tracking these. And then we'll also get into some price analysis toward the end. So stick around for that. James, before we kind of head on the news side, I want to pop up this right here, which is Polymarket. This is the rate cut probability, which now holds at, let's look at that. Today, this morning, it's at 86%. I'll zoom in on this for you guys so you can kind of see something that I wanted to showcase. This is the 10 basis points, or excuse me, the 50 basis points setting at 10% now, which is insane because 2 weeks ago, this was literally setting at almost nothing. And now here we are setting at 10%. 1 in 10 people think we're going to get a 50 basis point cut. Likelihood is this is going to be multi-quarter basis point cuts. Do you think Chair Powell is going to go ahead and pull the trigger, or do you think he'll surprise us again?
Ooh, I don't know. I hope he at least pulls the trigger on the quarter point or whatever, because hopefully he don't surprise us. Hopefully it's for a good reason, because I'm sure he's been, kind of pushed towards doing something good. And I really feel that I think what is going to be September 17th, around that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think good things are going to happen for us. Just my honest opinion.
Well, at 80% plus odds, remember the Jackson Hole speech was a surprise because
Mhm.
people were still questioning. But I go back and listen to that speech, and something that when I was watching it, there was something about his demeanor. And I think he knew the job data. I think he was getting the reports ahead of time before we were seeing them released by the BLS. And I think he knew they were in trouble. And with this job revision data, but also just the job data in general, which now you can't believe anything that's coming out of the government when it comes to data, which I've always said is don't believe it. Look at what's happening around you. If you're starting to see problems in the market, you most likely are correct. Just read the room, as they say, read the room. And I think now he's pushed into a position where he has no choice but is going to make a cut. My anticipation is we're going to get 3 cuts this year. We're going to see a huge acceleration into December. We'll talk about that in a minute because I've got the XRP chart. We'll break into that, all that good stuff. But before I do that, Nasdaq, of course, announced, James, that we've got a big deal coming, and that is now a new proposal for tokenized securities. And I look at this and I think about just institutional adoption and how much Ripple has done to kind of bring this forward. Do you think that when you look back at the lawsuit, what John did, what the XRP army did, and now what we're seeing in not only Wall Street, Capitol Hill, and almost in every company, I mean, Stripe's out there talking about launching an L1 now. Do you think all of that was really centered around Ripple just fighting the fight?
Well, we all fought the fight. I'm part of the XRP army. I was included in this lawsuit as well as thousands upon thousands of people around the world, and we made a huge impact. We made an impact on all of crypto. That's the way
Yeah.
I look at it. Um, oh, absolutely. I mean, John Deaton stepped up right after Ripple was sued by the SEC. The entire community stepped up, and we fought back. And what's happening today, I feel is a huge impact because of what we did with the Ripple lawsuit. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Well, and
yeah.
it's one of those things too, when we look at it, from an analyst side of things, is there's just too many things that have been happening since then. Obviously, what we have seen around adoption at the institutional level. We'll show some stuff about just the speakers at Swell, the
Mhm.
XRP Ripple event later this year. That is a big telling sign that there is a huge wave, we'll call it a swell, coming in to institutional capital. And one of the things you got to look at is this right here, Nasdaq's new proposal for tokenized securities. It's kind of interesting because this was Chuck Mack, who is the Nasdaq senior VP, and he basically said, "Hey, the rule will change and would enable member firms and investors to trade tokenized versions of equity securities and also ETPs." So this is going to open up a massive one. I think will be awareness around where blockchain is going on traditional markets, but I think it's also going to open up exposure into certain areas. We have already seen it with stablecoins. The likelihood is we're going to see RLUSD continue to climb, and the opportunity, I think, of where traditional investors have kind of struggled in the past of being able to just say, "Yeah, I want to buy and get exposure to this." James? What are your thoughts about the XRP Treasury companies? Do you think those are good for the community, bad for the community, or you just don't know yet?
Well, I think it's good because people are buying and holding like we are.
Yeah.
That they know that the picture is going to be so much bigger. The tokenization of things, the tokenization of real estate, stocks, everything on the blockchain, and it's coming. And all these big banks, the big players, yeah, these treasuries are they're just like us. They're holding and we're also building on top of the XRP ledger. We're
Right.
creating awesome things, but yeah, it's going to have a huge impact, especially when you start getting on these exchanges and you see that there's not many XRP available on these exchanges. We've
Hmm.
already seen a decrease on Coinbase and other centralized exchanges. So, yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for everybody right now.
Well, you mentioned that one thing that I thought was interesting was the amount of issues that were occurring when you look at just Binance in general, because
Mhm.
Binance ended up listing, and I didn't realize how much XRP was being held on Binance. Did you realize
It
that?
was
How much?
several billion. I wasn't at
Yeah,
4 or 5 billion, somewhere around
yeah.
there.
It was
Yeah.
only number two to Bitcoin. So in that particular scenario, I mean, this is it's crazy in terms of how this could look. And I think one thing, if you consider exchanges, and the amount of holding that we're seeing within the XRP community. Again, if you look at just the amount of XRP that's being held by nations, major nations out there, South Korea being one of the biggest, 30% of the holdings, which I did not realize that. I just learned that last week,
Hmm.
is that there is 30% of XRP being held by Koreans,
Wow.
South Koreans, which is kind of interesting because it starts to move into this whole theme around the adoption cycle. Now, you're getting a chance to educate a lot of people on crypto scams and things of that nature. But when you look at just what's happening right now around adoption, are you having more and more everyday people ask you about crypto? What's kind of the word on the street right now?
Oh, it's absolutely incredible right now that I have friends, I have family members, I have ex coworkers, I have everywhere I go, I mention crypto, I mention XRP, blockchain, all the above, and so many people are wanting to know what is it. And I'll create videos on YouTube breaking down the blockchains because anybody could say, "Hey, you need to invest in Bitcoin, you need to invest in Ethereum or XRP."
Right.
But so many people now are getting smarter with their financial decisions and they're wanting to know the underlying technology. And yeah, it's just amazing. So many people now are smarter with their money and they're wanting to know exactly what they're investing in. And
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, and I think the point being is now we've started to understand, when you think about just the amount of adoption that we are going to see this time around, it's pretty crazy because this is the story I tell all the time about, XRP wasn't really a project that was brought out in the open mainly because of its repression that we saw from the SEC. And I still believe when you look at where XRP is today and how much pressure, selling pressure it had from the lawsuit, from all the different chains that are out there that FUD it left and right, it is amazing to see XRP still hold the kind of position in terms of reserves that are out there right now. So, and that number from Binance, 2.8 billion right now, XRP, that's 96% are held in that exchange wallets,
wow.
which is crazy when you look at that. And it's like 79, I think, million overall in terms of the difference between what's held for users versus what the net balance is. So that alone with the adoption curve that we're seeing with new people. With me, we do our seminar every 2 weeks, and it's mostly business owners. We get a rotation of new business owners in there. The wait list right now. I would say 90% of the people that I'm talking to, this is their first time to ever look at crypto. Is that what you're seeing right now? Is this is just such a huge new cycle coming in?
Absolutely. And, like I was saying 5 years ago, I was working in a refinery. I was making good money. I found XRP. It was five for a dollar. And I'd always tell the guys, hey, this is a Kmart blue light special. And if you're our age, you know what Kmart is. But
Yeah.
yeah, they're coming around. My phone's blowing up. We're hitting $3 price points on XRP, and they're saying, "Hey, where does that X token? Where can I get that thing you were talking about?" And they're finally
That
starting to
X
come out of the
token.
woods. It's amazing. It really is. And I'm just so excited that I could pretty much say, my tagline is "I told you so" at the end of every
There.
one of my videos. And sometimes I'll say "Bless your heart," but most people don't know what that means, and we're not going to go there. So. Uh, but yeah, I mean, so many people that follow me on socials are starting to ask a lot of questions, and it really excites me because we're still so early to the party. And it just I'm just excited every day.
Well, as we speak, XRP on a little bit of a bump, over $3 now. Again, likelihood is we're going to see some movement here. We'll talk about price here in a second and where I think it's going to be end of year. But James, let's talk about crypto scams real quick because this is something that I'm finding even more and more the amount of phishing attacks that are happening on users. And these are people that, because it's their first time in crypto, I'm getting text messages and screenshots from friends, family, neighbors. Um, do you feel like it's gotten more advanced here recently, or has it kind of been this way all along, and it's just now people are getting exposed to it more?
Well, honestly, I'm passionate about preaching crypto scams because thousands of people have contacted me on socials the past 5 years since I had my channels. And the problem today is with our AI technology, with the fake Brad Garlinghouse videos
Yep.
stating that they're giving away free XRP, send us your XRP. Also, people are getting text messages from fake Coinbase. They're thinking that these centralized exchanges or these wallet providers are actually contacting them,
Yeah.
and they're having the fear of missing out, or they're having the fear in general, thinking that if they don't do something, they're going to lose everything. And what happens is when you share the keys to your castle, which are they're called recovery phrases, and
Yep.
they're a series of 12 or 24 words you write down when you create your own private wallets. As soon as you share that information, the scammers on the other end of that legitimate looking web page are going to
Hmm.
generate your wallets, drain your wallets. And I have actually been on the phone with individuals that were in tears that lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in seconds. And as of today, there are companies. I know Ripple is funding, I think, TRM Labs. There's Bank
Yep.
Social. There's different organizations that are starting to track these scammers because blockchain is transparent. Never share your wallet on socials. If somebody says, we're giving away free Bitcoin, we're giving away free XRP, put your wallet in the comments. Don't do it because somebody can trace your wallets. Blockchain is transparent. But yeah, with the phone calls, the emails, the pig butchering, which I'm not going to go into detail what that is. You'll have to Google it yourself. It's a love relationship enticing you to send more
Yeah.
money, making thousands of dollars. But the biggest ones lately have been sharing your seed phrases, sharing your login information to a fake Coinbase or to a phone call. And
Right.
it breaks my heart because millions upon millions of dollars have been lost here in the past 5 years, especially when XRP was 20 cents
Hmm.
and now it's $3. If somebody lost 50,000 XRP back then, how much is it worth today?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Well, and you guys have to really consider this is one, you should be using authenticators, get into two-factor authentication for sure at the bare minimum. Google Authenticator is probably the best because it's requiring you to have the phone device along with your login at the same time. And if you look at the way a lot of these security protocols are set up, now it's getting it even into the capacity where you can put in a special phrase that comes in on an email from your exchange. So if you get an email, it's got to have that special phrase on it. If it does not, you know you're not dealing with the exchange themselves. And that has been the case because this is something that we have tracked for quite a while, and we have our algorithm that looks at sentiment data. And one of the byproducts of what we get on the amount of data that's out there on, especially on crypto, especially related to X, is the amount of bot accounts that
mm,
are utilizing scamming techniques. And this is everything from spoofing, spoofing accounts, going in and trying to do SIM swaps, doing certain kinds of things in terms of harvest, which is another problem. You and I kind of chatted about this on X. And by the way, right now, guys, just so you guys know, X does not have end-to-end encryption. So whatever you say in your DMs is going to, it could at some point in the future be out there. So just
mhm.
know that it is not end-to-end encryption. And James and I, we were chatting back and forth on supposedly the end-to-end encryption for X, and we were kind of hitting on that very point. Is that uh, are you seeing this now where you feel like these lists are being sold by the major suppliers to the industry?
It has to be because my entire family's getting Coinbase texts. My
Yeah.
my family's getting Ledger or Ellie Pal emails from scammers, and it has to be insiders, sharing this information.
How do they know? Yeah. How do they
Yeah,
know
how do
that
they know I
email?
have a ledger? How do they know I have a Coinbase account? And my
Yep.
my brother texted me a couple days ago, "Hey, do I need to log in the Coinbase? I got a text message." I said, "Nope, delete every text message, don't answer a phone call, delete every email." And I have imposters. I probably have 3 dozen imposters on X that are trying to scam the community.
Mhm.
James Rule XRP, they changed the wording at, whatever they call it. And thank God the community reports a bunch of those to me. I'll go in every couple of days and, type in search and find different ones and report them. And it's a tedious process. But
Yep.
If I could prevent one person or a dozen or 100 people a day from getting scammed, I've done my job. My heart is full. So I consider myself a crypto teacher. And if I could help someone, if somebody's been scammed, they'll message me and I'll try to send them to the right resource. But these scammers are going to get better at what they do. They're going to, this AI technology, these fake web pages, these contacts, these emails. You just have to do your due diligence and take about 10 or 20 minutes before you send your money or crypto to an unknown person or wallet. I mean, you have to be smart. And if you're new to this, you're going to FOMO, which means you're going to have the fear of missing out. You think if you do something, you're going to have more crypto than your brother, your husband, your wife, or whatever. And when you do so, you're actually giving away your money. So you just have to be careful. I've seen it. And, Paul, here about 3 weeks ago, my X account got compromised.
I saw that. Yep.
As harsh as I am about scams, one of my buddies, I'm not going to mention his name, sent me an instant message. I was assuming it was him because I've interviewed him several times. So I thought, yeah, I'd love to co-host your podcast. So yes, I downloaded the software, which I thought was legit. And about 2 weeks later, my account was taken over, and I even 2FA'd. I had all the security set for X, and these scammers now, they create software that is untraceable with virus scan software.
Interesting.
They're so tricky because a guy I know out of the UK actually researched this download and actually broke it down in detail and said that Norton Antivirus, Kaspersky, or whatever will not trace these Trojan scams that he found. So,
well, and it's the amount of anytime you're downloading, and I would recommend this, whether you're in Telegram, Discord, even on X, once a DM comes in, don't click links. Always, if they give you something on it, if you are in a situation like that, is just do a general search on whatever term they are. It will usually bring up, if it's an accurate one, it'll bring up the URL anyway in Google search. If it's a scam, most likely it's going to be hidden. So these are problems that have been out there for quite some time. And I'm not saying that it's the concern I have is it's the nefarious actors inside the organizations.
mm-hmm.
Those are the ones I fear the most because they have access to information. And when I say inside organizations, this could be in a DAO. This could be in decentralized platforms out there. People are and do have access to all of this information, just like they do on any other centralized database that's out there. So I guess the takeaway on this is don't trust anything. Always go to the source of where if you're getting any kind of warning or anything anywhere, doesn't matter how, what way it's coming, go to your source, and most likely you'll be able to find quickly if you have any problems on your account. Never use any other method other than you going directly to it. And be careful even with that. I mean, nowadays, the search capacity on Coinbase alone, they're putting out so many fires right now just to keep these crazy websites from being spoofed, which has been a problem, and especially as we get into AI tools, which is going to make it even easier to do. Hey, did you see Tom Lee says $200,000 Bitcoin by end of year?
I saw that. Well, come on, Dad.
Let's go. Let's see what happens. Because if it hits 200K, I mean, I can't even imagine where XRP would
where's
be.
everything else going to be? Because everything right now usually follows Bitcoin. But I can't wait till we decouple, until all these different blockchains pretty much separate and do their own thing independently of Bitcoin. And I don't know when and if that will happen, but
I think it is gonna. Well, I have a whole theory around this in terms of what does it look like. I'll bring up the Tom Lee tweet just to show everybody that we're not jesting him on this. This was done by Tom Lee Tracker, which I know is authentic. But right there it is. Was on CNBC basically saying he thinks Bitcoin hits 200K by end of 2025. I think there's 2 or 3 validator points that will cause this to occur. James. One, of course, is going to be the rate cuts. If we get 3 rate cuts, that will be the key. 3 rate cuts, we'll see an acceleration. Obviously, we're going to go into possibly free money again by May of next year. And if gold continues to go, I anticipate gold hits 4,000. And I think the S&P is going to possibly go up another 8 to 12%. And it's likely, we'll give you our my XRP prediction by end of year at the end of the show. But if you look at this right now and you have people coming into the market for the first time, are you telling them to buy multiple assets? Or not that you're giving financial advice, but when they say, hey, you've been in this space long enough, would you diversify or would you centralize on 1 or 2 assets?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a use case utility token junkie. I always diversify, and I always tell people don't put all your eggs in one basket. Even if you're a self custodian to several cryptocurrencies, don't keep them all in one wallet, or don't keep them on a centralized exchange. Yeah, definitely diversify. I mean, pick the good ones. Pick the do your research, learn the underlying blockchain technology, and spread your wealth out, because some are going to pop before others. And when we have this massive moon event, which I really feel is going to happen either at the end of this year or early next year, you're going to see all boats rise with the tide. So yeah, diversify.
Well,
Everybody.
and I think the macro side of things, and this is the concern I have right now. And this is more of a philosophical situation, and that is there are right now, unfortunately, in the U.S. and I think really worldwide to a certain extent, there's a haves and the have-nots. And unfortunately, the only reason I believe that there are have-nots is because we are in a position right now where people unfortunately missed, the early boats when it came to crypto. The guys that bought at Bitcoin, even if you look at this past cycle at 16K and a $900 Ethereum or a 50-cent XRP. This could have easily been solved with simple elements of risk. And this is something that I coach a lot with, people getting into crypto the first time. And I'm like, listen, it's like any great movement that's happening. You can no longer deny that blockchain is going to be here it's like when people said the internet wouldn't last, mobile wouldn't last, social media wouldn't last. And it's like, those are the phases of adoption curves that are just going to happen. And now, I mean, what validation do you need besides every major institutional capital company coming to the dance now? What more do you need?
I mean, it's generational wealth that's going to happen here soon. And I live the internet of information. I live the 2400 baud modems, the Napster. Your
I
mom
haven't
would
heard
pick up
that in a
the
while.
phone. Yeah, your mom would pick up the phone and the Metallica song didn't download completely, and you're like, oh no, another 20-minute download. Oh my
There you
goodness.
go.
But yeah, I mean, from the internet of information to now the internet of value is what we call it. People do not have a clue of how massive this is going to be, or
Yeah.
how life changing this is going to be for so many people. And when again are we going to have another event take place like this? When is this next opportunity going to take place? I mean, this is massive. This is even bigger than the internet.
Yeah. I feel like there is going to take a few years before we truly see dollar debasement. But that will be the next phase, and it'll probably be anywhere between an 18 and 36 month window where that we truly get into the Bretton Woods event, kind of concept, when gold was essentially removed from the system and we went to paper money and the petrodollar. And the things that start to identify that are things like this right here that I'm sharing with you guys right now. XRP and Solana eyeing a breakout. This is, again, all institutions. And what are they doing? They're buying call options right now. And you think about that on call options. This is all expectations around Fed rate cuts, the weak job reports. And then if you kind of combine that, James, with what's happening on really I think the evolution of where AI will eventually be, which will be at some point of, there's going to be a supply shock of jobs initially. I anticipate it's going to be the gig workers first. I got a chance to ride in my first robo taxi the other day.
Wow. How
Have you
was
been
it?
in one of those?
No, how was it?
It was scary at first, but then after you get past the fear of there's nobody in the front seat, um, it was like, wait a minute, this actually worked. It was calm, cool, and collected, and no problems. Didn't get lost, and
Nice.
delivered me. And it did it at a third of the price of Uber.
Really?
So to me, I think this is, I had a little bit of Uber stock. I sold it all. I had a little bit of Lyft stock. I sold it all.
What'd you
And I
put it
said,
in? What'd you put it in?
well, what do you think? Just buy a little
Yeah,
XRP.
exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm just quizzing you there. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Just buy a little XRP, nest that one away. Every time I sell one of these crappy securities, then I figure out, okay, what blockchain am I going to go? Well, let's drop a little bit in ETH. Let's drop a little in XRP, a little bit in Solana. And it's funny because I look at this and just say, yes, we're going to see kind of a revolution right now around AI that I think is going to completely shift everything going forward. Then here's another thing I wanted to hit on before we get into price, and that is this Fed meeting. All right. I don't know if you saw this, but this is the Fed meeting that they're having. It's called the Innovation Payment Conference on Crypto and AI. And this is something that I've talked about for quite some time, is that when AI gets to the point where we have agents manning most of our, whether it's our trades, our movement of funds, just agents that will interact with our wallets, etc. And the fact that we now have the Fed saying that, look here, the Fed is bringing stable coins, tokenization, and AI for payment tech into one conversation as policy in Washington begins. It's begun, and now you know that this is going to start to include Ripple more and more in terms of a payment rail system. Even Trump said it the other day. I mean, it was kind of one of those things where he just said the words out loud without saying the word Ripple. So, what are your thoughts on this with the Fed actually going this direction?
They finally woke up. I mean, really, after all these years, and Ripple's got with them years ago. There's documentation from I think 2017 meeting with the Feds. Fed now, all the above. I think there was a member from Ripple that was actually on the board
Right.
of Fed now,
Yep.
and it's obvious, things are really going to pop, and people are going to be left behind, and people are going to say, "Well, I remember you told me about this. I should have gotten in. I know I thought it was too much," and we're going to hear so many stories, and we're going to hear so many "I told you so"s coming up here in the next couple of years. It's going to be amazing.
It
There's
is
going
going to be amazing. I think there's so much here too to keep an eye on. We'll get into the charts for a second, because I did promise this, so I'll bring it in real quick just to take a quick look at XRP this morning as we're charting up after 2 days of upward over the weekend. Now trading at almost $3, 297 right there. Key thing here to watch right now is the volume sentiment is clipping at around 60%. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me kind of highlight that because this is something that we don't showcase too much. We actually have a tool that is a trading tool that we built that looks at the sentiment algorithm that tracks against certain components. XRP is one of the ones that we track right now. This will flow up and down. When we start to see this volume sentiment right here clip above 50, that's typically the big indicator that we've got an upside trend moving, which is what we're starting to see right now. If you think about this from that low, let's go take a look at where we were versus where we are now. A nice 11% move in the last week. So not bad compared to what some of the other projects have been doing out there. And when you look at strategies, James, and you think about, because this is one that it's silly to me that people think that trading is the way.
to.
It's not. It's there's a real simple strategy. What is it, James?
You got to hodl. You got to ride the waves. You got to let
Just
everybody catch up,
hold.
because 5 years ago I took all of my 401ks and I threw them into crypto,
There you go.
and it was
And
locked
we're
out.
not telling you guys to do that,
No,
but
no, 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 no. What I do, I'm not telling you to do what I did. I'm just telling you what I did.
yeah,
It's been an incredible ride because everybody laughed at me. It's all going to go to zero. You're not going to do. It's not
yep.
going anywhere. Now they're like, Oh, okay. That's what you did.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. I mean, because these are risky plays. You have to have
Mhm.
risk tolerance in your and I think the coaching that I would give to anybody is first of all, I think everybody should be exposed to crypto. Just take a small percentage of your whatever your portfolio is, whether that's cash liquid, maybe it's something that you've got in securities that you are have been holding for a while and you're thinking maybe I just need to get some exposure. And at some point, you're going to either have to buy an ETF. That'll probably be your first move. I'm sure everybody wants to be safe. Okay, fine. But in reality, just go direct onto the asset and buy it. And whether you do it through an exchange or you do it through a DeFi protocol, most people will go through exchanges. So just do that. And I think if you do that in a small percentage, first of all, it's going to get you exposed to how to do this. And that's the first step in being able to really understand where crypto is going for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have people that are coming in right now? What is the way that they are coming into crypto for the very first time? Do they do it through a centralized exchange? Do you find people download a software or a hardware wallet? What's the model that they're using?
Well, most of them they're not educated enough now on the wallets or the dexes, so they're just going straight to a
Straight to an
centralized
exchange?
exchange, and they're starting to accumulate. And if they've been accumulating for a while, I advise them to start researching these self custody wallet providers, software, whatever. To be your own bank, to be your own self custodian. And it's funny you mentioned a small percentage. Wasn't it Rick Edelman?
Yep.
He started stating that maybe you could put up to 40% in digital assets. He kind of flipped the script and said,
Yeah,
well,
that's the new number. Yeah,
the
for
new
sure.
number is 40%. But if you're brand new to this, I'm just saying, I'm cash poor. I went all in. Don't be like me. Um, and
Well, this
and
is a number though, James, that just a year ago, people were saying 1%.
mhm.
Okay. I have many money managers that I talk with. Now I'm like the popular kid. They're all calling me saying, "Hey, okay, so you told me 10% last year. What do you tell me this year?" And I'm like, "Well, 10% last year. Had you done that, well, where would you be?" And he goes, "I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about the mistakes."
I mean, how are we going to educate the financial advisors, the CPAs about crypto? They're going to have to go to some big school or some big class because here locally, if I have a CPA that don't know about digital assets or the taxation, and we're
Yeah.
still trying to figure that
Tax
out.
problem is a
Oh,
real deal.
it's massive right now.
Yeah. It is a big problem. There is one, I'll drop one out there for you guys. Just if you've never heard of Mark Kohler, go research that name. He's got a Phoenix. Mark has been on my show before. I trust him. He is a CPA and a lawyer, and they've built their business on understanding digital assets. It's one of the few firms out there that could say that I would say, okay, they know what they're talking about. Now, sometimes I think they're a little conservative for me, but that's okay. You can be conservative when it comes to taxes. But the point is that we're going to see a lot more of this, I think, in the very near future in terms of both not only CPAs, but also the financial planners that are going to start to move in this direction for sure. Hey, let's talk about Swell real quick. Obviously, we've got the agenda. Let me go over and go to the speakers page real quick. I want to show you guys something.
Absolutely. Show
Yeah,
everybody.
let's do
Let's
that.
go.
Because this is insane, James. I mean, have you seen this lineup?
I have seen it and I've seen the update. It's pretty incredible.
I mean, obviously you've got the leads there, but you've got Nasdaq. This is the chair and CEO, Adina Friedman. You've got market leaders coming in from the restaurant industry. That's Jose Andres, who is one of the top chefs out there. BNY Mellon there, obviously. Citibank, BlackRock. Hello.
Mhm.
Maxwell Stein, Director of Digital Assets,
Who would have thought?
attending Swell. Okay. And then, of course, Hidden Road, Bitwise coming. Hunter is a great speaker. If you guys have never, he and Matt Hogan do a great job. They've got an XRP ETF coming. XTX Markets in there. There's Stephen McClurg has been on this show. He's the CEO of Canary Capital. Also another one, which, by the way, Stephen dropped a bomb on this podcast. 5 billion. Number one ETF, he said XRP would be when it launches.
Come on.
Let's
Come
do
on.
it. I like it. And then, of course, as you can see, this is a big lineup. So I anticipate there is going to be an unbelievable amount of information being dropped here at this event. So this is coming up early November in New York. We are going to, myself and our team will be trying to cover that at
Nice.
the event. So most likely we'll have some nice interviews here from not only the XRP pod, but also from PBN. So that's going to be a
Fantastic.
big one. Is there anything that you're looking forward to hearing at that event?
Man, I'll tell you what, everybody keeps saying BlackRock's not going to have an XRP ETF, but I did a little bit of research, and this event center in New York where Swell is taking place is
Convene.
right
Yep.
next door to BlackRock's corporate office. I mean, on corner to corner right there.
Imagine that.
I wonder how that happened. You know,
It's
so so I'm going to be at the XRPL event. I think the night of the 6th. I did apply for Swell. I haven't gotten any feedback on that, but man, I'll tell you what. People were saying, "Well, this blockchain and bank thing is never going to work."
yeah.
Well, I disagree. I disagree because I think after this event towards the end of the year, they're actually going to open the doors that have been closed for so long, and
Mhm.
things that we've been speculating are
Yep.
actually going to come to fruition. So I can't wait to see that.
Well, and it's a big lineup. It starts. They have Monday. It's mostly just a welcome reception, but Tuesday, November 4th, is when it hits. One of the things they're going to be doing. You've got Adina Friedman. She's going to be Nasdaq. She'll be talking there. A couple other things. We'll have a Ripple product demo coming on as a keynote, which is kind of interesting. Uh, I wonder what that's going to look like. And then a lot in the way of where the market is going from global banks. So I anticipate we'll see some big partnership announcements there as well. Other things they'll be talking about, which is interesting, is the regulatory comparison uh, and what's happening in the market, but also just by then it's possible we could even have a market structure bill. I don't know, but it's possible if we get one before end of year. And then let's see, what else do we got over there? RLUSD, they'll be talking about that, global growth there. And then obviously they're going to wrap up with Garlinghouse, on a fireside. So it should be another cram-packed event for everything that's happening. So big news coming out of the market. James, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on X, which is formerly Twitter. I go by James Rule XRP. My ad handle is Rule XRP. I also have the James Rule Crypto Show on YouTube. I've had it for about
Yep.
5 years, and I've done some amazing interviews like yourself. And I just teach the crypto teachers. That's what I do.
There you go, my man. Hey, listen, it's been great having you on the show. Thank you so much. I love to bring in XRP creators because you guys are the closest to what's really happening, and I think this is something that people need to pay attention to. When you think about projects, different communities out there, I will say this, the XRP creator community, and then also just the investor community. First of all, it's one of the most welcoming. And I think that's the thing that right now we need in a lot of this, because it has been a faction of these cult like people that have been out there for a long time. I think that's going away, James. Do you?
I think very soon.
I hope it's going away.
I hope so. It's been crazy. We've been getting, well, the XRP community, XRP army. I mean, we retaliate so much on these naysayers and these. I call them, what does Moon Lambo call them? The people with XRP derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
We slam back on them so hard that they're like, oh, why did I even say? Why did I post that?
I saw the Litecoin
Oh my
issue
goodness.
that occurred, and then Litecoin kind of backed off of it, saying, "Hey, we're just playing." I think, but that's the point. I think when you look at investment, listen, this is not the only place it happens. If you're a Tesla investor, this happens in that space. They've been attacked for a very long time, and now even some of the tech investors, if you think Mag 7 or Mag 8, Meta investors also are kind of just with XRP and some of the other crypto projects, they get a little bit more heat than most projects out there. So
yeah, we're a threat. I mean, we are a threat.
at the end of the day, that's what
Yeah.
You
but we
always
love it. I mean, great. I
it's
mean,
the low hanging fruit, man. It's the low hanging fruit. It's always going
absolutely.
to get hit. Anyway, James, good having you on the podcast. Thanks so much for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate everything you do, and uh, just like I say, I told you so.
We'll see you guys next time right here on the XRP Pod.